Why does a mid-level corporate project manager working 50 hours a week at a tech firm in Austin take home less money than a 22-year-old running a two-man software agency from a shared desk in Denver? It is not an issue of raw effort. It is not about intelligence. The project manager is usually running on 6 hours of sleep, chugging large iced Americanos at 6 in the morning to sync with East Coast market hours, and answering Slack notifications while hiding out in the office break room. They are working hard. They are pushing their capacity to the absolute limit, yet they remain financially trapped on a predictable linear path. The agency owner works fewer absolute hours, spends their afternoons playing golf or working out, and watches their business checking account balance climb by $30,000 every single month. This is the ultimate corporate paradox. The hardest workers in the modern American economy are often the ones who remain completely broke. We are taught from childhood that labor scales linearly with compensation. Your parents told you to get a steady job, work your way up the ladder, and save your pennies. That advice is an economic relic from 1980. In the current digital landscape, matching your income directly to physical hours spent is the fastest way to guarantee long-term financial stagnation. If you view your career through the lens of traditional effort, you are playing an industrial game in an information age. You are essentially attempting to outrun a high-frequency trading algorithm on a stationary bicycle. The human brain is a biological machine governed by ancient survival algorithms. One of its deeply hardwired settings is a cognitive bias known as hyperbolic discounting. Your brain is structurally designed to prioritize immediate, low-risk micro-rewards over massive, delayed, asymmetric payoffs. This is why you'll see a corporate employee spend 3 hours scrolling through Reddit and comparison shopping across 4 tabs just to save $12 on a new monitor mount. Your brain registers that $12 savings as a tangible victory. It triggers a small, localized chemical reward. What your brain completely fails to calculate is the invisible economic drain. By spending 3 hours of intense focus to save $12, that worker has explicitly valued their life force at $4 an hour. They have conditioned their internal operating system to think like an economic survivalist rather than a capital allocator. Morgan Housel talks about this concept extensively. Wealth is not what you spend or what you save on groceries. Wealth is the silent control over your time. When you trade your highest leverage cognitive focus to prevent micro-expenses, you are actively draining your brain's battery. You are leaving zero processing power for high-leverage decision-making. You cannot architect a 6-figure side business or pitch an enterprise-level corporate contract when your entire mind is consumed by the stress of a $20 DoorDash fee. You are treating your life like a scarcity problem to be managed rather than an allocation problem to be solved. Let us look at the structural reality of the modern corporate setup. The typical W-2 employee believes that a steady salary represents economic security. This is a massive psychological illusion. A salary is not security. It is a single point of failure risk profile. When you sell your time to a single employer, you are running a business with exactly one client. If that client experiences a budget shift, an executive restructuring, or a sudden change in market conditions, your entire cash flow drops to zero overnight. Nassim Taleb highlights this beautifully when he compares a corporate employee to a domestic dog. The dog is fed every single day by its master. It feels completely safe. It mocks the wild wolf who has to hunt for food and faces unpredictable meals. Then one day, the master decides he no longer wants the dog. The dog has completely forgotten how to survive in the wild. The corporate worker who relies solely on a bi-weekly paycheck is structurally fragile. They have outsourced their financial agency to a middle manager who uses a color-coded spreadsheet to determine their value. To break this cycle, you must look at your daily inputs from a purely analytical standpoint. Human beings are biological organisms that respond to environmental programming.
If your environment consists of jumping every time a Slack notification sounds, sitting through 3 hours of useless Zoom syncs, and eating free stale donuts in the break room to survive the afternoon, your output will be exactly average. Average in the United States means living paycheck to paycheck, carrying $15,000 in credit card debt, and feeling a deep underlying sense of dread every Sunday evening. To rewrite this software, you have to establish a completely non-negotiable asset allocation strategy. Wealth accumulation is an automated numbers game, not a moral trial. Most people try to manage their money using willpower. They look at their bank account after their mortgage, car payment, and weekend Uber Eats orders have cleared, and they try to save whatever is left over. This is mechanical idiocy. Relying on your willpower to save money in an economy engineered by multi-billion-dollar consumer algorithms is like trying to hold your breath underwater for 20 minutes. The system is designed to strip you of your capital at every single touch point. The only way to win is to remove human choice from the equation entirely. You need to log into your payroll portal today. Do not wait for the weekend. Do not wait for your next review. Split your incoming direct deposit at the root level. Exactly 10% must go into an isolated brokerage account that automatically purchases broad market index funds the morning the capital arrives. You do not look at the market tickers. You do not read financial news networks. You treat that 10% like an income tax levied by your future self. Another 10% must go into a separate checking account with an attached debit card. This is your designated play fund. This money must be spent entirely by the final day of the calendar month. Use it on premium dinners, high-end gym memberships, or outsourcing your laundry. If you do not create a structured valve for guilt-free spending, your subconscious mind will view financial discipline as a prison sentence. Eventually, it will rebel. You will experience a massive burnout episode, go on a $3,000 weekend vacation binge, and completely smash your primary investment strategy.
The next operational shift requires you to change how you price your daily labor. The masses believe that effort correlates with value. They think that because they spent 80 hours building a corporate presentation, the presentation is inherently valuable. The market does not care about your labor. The market only validates outcomes. If an automated script can generate the exact same data layout in 4 seconds, your 80 hours of manual labor are worth exactly $0. You must stop tracking your career by how busy you feel. Busyness is a psychological defense mechanism used by people who are terrified of facing their lack of leverage. Look at your current daily task list inside Notion or Google Calendar. Strip away every single task that does not directly drive top-line revenue, structural cost reductions, or asset creation. If your day is filled with updating status boards, responding to low-priority emails, and attending pre-meetings for other meetings, you are performing corporate theater. You are acting as human grease for a broken institutional machine. To fix this, you must construct a high-leverage focus block. Dedicate the first 90 minutes of your morning to asymmetric projects. This means writing the core code for your product, filming content for your brand, or building a scalable sales system. Do this before you open your email. Do this before you look at your phone. If you give your highest energy cognitive window to your employer's inbox, you are giving away your primary economic leverage for free. You are ensuring that you will remain a functional asset on someone else's balance sheet. Let us address the concept of fear. The standard human mind is a primitive survival radar, not a vehicle for wealth generation. The moment you consider launching a side business, negotiating an aggressive performance-based bonus, or investing significant capital into your own education, your brain will generate a massive wave of anxiety. It will sketch out 20 different worst-case scenarios. It will tell you that you will lose your job, fail publicly, and ruin your credit score. Average people treat this anxiety as a stop sign. They assume that because they feel fear, the action must be inherently dangerous. High-performance individuals treat fear as a compass.
If an action does not scare you at least slightly, it means the action has zero structural upside. It means you are repeating a behavior you have already mastered. You are staying inside your comfort zone. If you only do what is comfortable, your lifestyle will eventually become incredibly uncomfortable. You will be 50 years old, dealing with corporate ageism and realizing you have zero equity in anything you built. True structural safety does not come from a steady paycheck or a fancy job title at a blue-chip company. True safety comes from your ability to command revenue at will. It comes from having a direct line to the market. If you do not currently have access to a network of high-income entrepreneurs or elite performers in your local area, you have zero excuses. You live in a hyper-connected digital landscape. You do not need an invitation to a private club in Manhattan to learn how the top 0.1% operate. You can read their raw code on GitHub. You can study their distribution mechanics on Twitter. You can read the exact books that formed their mental frameworks. Treat the authors of high-level strategic texts as your personal board of directors. Instead of spending your evening commute listening to local radio or political outrage podcasts, turn your car or your headphones into an elite training environment. If you run the exact same inputs through your brain that the average corporate worker runs, you will get the exact same outputs. It is a predictable mechanical law. You must ruthlessly curate your information diet. Unfollow every acquaintance who uses social media to complain about their landlord, the government, or their office dynamics. That negative mental loops are highly contagious. They normalize mediocrity. They convince you that staying broke and unhappy is just standard human behavior. Look closely at how you handle challenges at work. When a major project derails, an advertising campaign drops in efficiency, or a key client cancels their account, the average worker instantly enters victim mode. They immediately search for an external entity to blame. They blame the economy, the changing algorithm, or their bad manager. They do this because blaming an external variable relieves them of immediate psychological responsibility. It allows them to feel right. High-performance individuals do not care about feeling right, they care about winning. When a system breaks, they treat it like an elite mechanic treats a faulty transmission. They do not get angry at the car. They do not complain that the metal is unfair. They pull the system apart, find the specific point of mechanical failure, and rebuild it with higher tolerances. If your income is not where you want it to be, you are the system that needs to be pulled apart. You have a structural defect in your execution model, your skill stack, or your asset allocation strategy. Consider the difference between working income and net worth. The masses are completely obsessed with their gross monthly salary. They buy large houses in the suburbs and lease luxury European vehicles based entirely on their current cash flow capacity. They are running on a highly fragile economic treadmill. If their cash flow pauses for 45 days, their entire lifestyle collapses into foreclosure. Wealth is not measured by how much money passes through your hands. Wealth is measured by your net worth. It is the total value of your liquid capital, real estate equity, and intellectual property assets, minus your liabilities. You need to draw a hard vertical line on a whiteboard in your office today. Put 0 at the bottom. Put your target net worth at the top. Mark your exact current position on that line. Update that number on the first day of every single quarter. If that number is not moving upward consistently, you are not actually building wealth. You are just running a high-turnover consumer household. You are working hard simply to enrich your mortgage lender, your auto finance company, and your local grocery chain.
If you want to accelerate this timeline, you have to become excellent at self-promotion. The corporate world conditions you to believe that quiet modesty is a virtue. You are told to keep your head down, do good work, and wait for someone to notice and reward you. This is a massive lie designed to keep labor cheap. In an information economy, attention is the ultimate currency. If no one knows who you are, it does not matter how good your code is. It does not matter how efficient your management frameworks are. You are functionally invisible.
You must treat your expertise as a product that requires a systematic marketing engine. Share your operational insights publicly on LinkedIn. Write detailed breakdowns of how you solved specific engineering or operational problems. Build an email list. When you refuse to promote your capabilities, you are not being modest, you are being cowardly. You are hiding your value because you are terrified of being criticized or judged by your peers. High-earning entrepreneurs understand that selling is not an aggressive, sleazy activity. Selling is the act of matching a high-value solution with an acute market pain point. If you truly believe that your skills can transform a business or optimize a system, it is your absolute professional obligation to place that solution in front of the decision makers. To guarantee that you actually execute these changes rather than treating this information as a temporary shot of motivation, you need to implement immediate behavioral penalties. Human beings are far more motivated by the immediate threat of loss than the distant promise of gain. If you tell yourself that you will start your side business this weekend, your brain knows there is zero immediate consequence for breaking that promise. You will choose the path of least resistance. You will order DoorDash, open a beer, and play video games instead. To bypass this neurological flaw, use an online platform like Stick or BeMinder. Set a hard operational goal. For example, you must deploy 3 landing pages or write 5 cold B2B outreach scripts by Sunday at midnight. Put a financial stake on the line, $500. Direct that money to go to an organization or a political cause that you absolutely despise if you fail to upload proof of completion. The moment your primitive brain realizes that being lazy will cost you $500 real within minutes, your internal chemistry completely shifts, the resistance vanishes, your focus sharpens. You will stay up until 2 in the morning executing the work because the immediate pain of loss has completely overridden your desire for comfort. Stop waiting for the perfect economic environment, the perfect corporate title, or the perfect time to build your wealth engine. The macroeconomy will continue to experience volatility, algorithms will continue to shift, and your corporate job will continue to demand more of your energy for the same flat return. The only variable under your direct algorithmic control is your own execution model. Stop acting like a passenger in your financial life. Take the steering wheel. Automate your investments, upgrade your skills, protect your high-leverage focus blocks, and treat your career like a high-performance software system that requires constant optimization. Drop your biggest execution bottleneck in the comments below. Let me know the exact operational change you are making within the next 24 hours. Hit the like button and subscribe if you want cold, pragmatic systems for financial leverage. Go fix your inputs.